Alright, starting this over again here. So hi everybody, this is SMK, and what we're doing today is I'm going to teach you about the neutral game. And so this is going to be one of the few videos where I'm going to teach you stuff about how to get good at this game. So the neutral game, what is the neutral game? Well, the neutral game is basically this. It's moving around, it's the space between you and your opponent. So you've got normal movement, you've got steps, you've got the side step here. This is very important, keep that in mind. You've got the step vanish, this is also pretty important. And you have dashing. This is also part of the neutral game. Now, it's the space between your opponent. So, like, the neutral game is, how do you want to get in to your opponent to start attacking? How do you want to get in safely? Most players just tend to press square and then do this. That's straight rush down is not how you play this game. I mean, you can do it, but you don't want to do it all the time, and that's what most people do, and that's what sort of leads to players faltering or playing bad, because you're too easy to predict. It's too easy to deal with you. The way I play the neutral is, instead of going all out and attacking, I sidestep. You'll see me do this a lot in my match videos. I do lots of sidestepping, and it's both to gauge what my opponent wants to do, while also keeping me somewhat safe. And and while you're sidestepping, you can go into an attack like this. You can do that, and you have complete control over when you want to do that. You can do that as late into the sidestep as you want. So, like, watch. I'm at the way end of that sidestep, and I was able to attack. You can do it as early as you want. You can do it as early as you want or as late as you want with the sidestep. So I use that to not only gauge what my opponent wants to do, but I also use that to bait them into doing something. So most players, I mean, let's just say Vegeta here wants to just do his square combo on me. What's going to happen is, because I'm sidestepping like this or like that, I'm making myself hard to hit while also being able to control where I'm going to go. So let's say Vegeta's attacking me, and I move to the left here. Now he's going to be past me, which allows me to go around behind him and start attacking him from behind like that. So let's say we start here, I do that, I go around, and then I hit him like that. So not only did I bait him into doing an attack, I also ended up punishing him. So what's punishing? Punishing is the moment where the player misses their attack, and you basically hit them. You hit them. You're punishing them for attacking, for missing their attack. What some people call that is, they call it whiff punishing. And what that basically means is that the whiff stands for missing. They missed their attack, they didn't hit you, and you're punishing them for missing their attack. It is basically a self-explanatory phrase, whiff punishing. So this is very important for the neutral, and as well as the step vanishes. Now, the reason why I don't recommend doing the step vanishes a lot is because you don't have nearly as much control. What does that mean? That means that anytime you do this, like L2 and X, you have a high chance of losing stamina for it, because 9 times out of 10 what players are doing online, they are trying to attack you, and you will end up vanishing when you don't mean to. You'll end up Z-vanishing, which costs either 1 stamina bar or 2, depending on how the game reads your Z-vanish input. 9 times out of 10, you're losing 2 bars of stamina for that, and that's not good. That's not good at all. You don't want to, lose stamina for no reason. So that's why I don't recommend doing the sidestep vanish unless you know that you are going to not get hit, or you know that you have control of the situation and that you're using it just to take advantage of the invincibility frames. What are invincibility frames? It's the moment for at least for this, where you cannot be hit. So from the time you disappear and reappear, you cannot be hit during the manual step vanish. Now, the cases in which you might want to use the manual step vanish over the regular sidestep would be if it's versus a character like Final Form Cooler, where he has such big hitboxes on his attacks that you'll often find yourself getting hit a lot, even though you clearly sidestepped that character. Because you're going to want to use that to get all the way around them. Kind of like that, basically. So you want to practice this movement. Even with normal sidestepping, you're going to want to practice it. In addition, you can delay doing the manual step vanish while you're sidestepping. So you can do it like that, or you could do it like that, and then you'll go all the way around, and you have not only the control of the sidestep that the sidestep offers you, but also then you could take advantage of the invincibility frames of the manual side of the manual step vanish, and that way you still have some of the, you have a mixed sort of thing going on with the sidestep and the manual step vanish. Now, I don't typically do that very often myself because, again, like I said, doing that will lead to sometimes you wasting stamina and doing a Z-vanish anyway, even if you know you did it right, because this game's netcode is just not very good. A lot of what you're going to learn here is probably not going to always work in every situation just because of the game's netcode. So, bearing that in mind, that's basically the neutral game. You want to use sidesteps a lot. You can even use regular movement if you want. You can use key blasts during the neutral game. That's fine. Key blasts during the neutral game is good because guess what that's called? That's called zoning. Zoning is basically using your projectiles or any type of, attack. Like, let's say you're using triangle here. Any type of attack you're putting out there, hitbox you're putting out there while you're at a distance is zoning. And zoning is basically just the game in which you are trying to play a bit of a keep away, but also a way to get in. There's a reason why you can move while you're shooting key blasts in this game, because they want to encourage you to use those key blasts not only at a distance, but also while getting in close. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that even though key blasts don't do a whole lot of damage, they're great for, stopping people from doing abusive things, or even just like throwing a hitbox out there to stop them from doing something. So keep that in mind as well. And what else is there? Oh, blocking is technically also part of the neutral game. I forgot to mention that. Blocking is very important. Not a lot of players block when they should. Always keep in mind you have a block button. And if you don't, you're going to run into some problems. Let's just say that. And then, the other thing that's part of the neutral is also obviously vertical. So ascending and descending as well is very important. As well as jumping. Let me get Vegeta knocked down here so you can see what I'm talking about. So not only is the neutral game what's around you here, but you also, because this is a 3D game, you also have to deal with verticality. So let's mention here, I forgot to mention this as well. When you're standing still on the ground, you gain stamina faster than you do in the air. So keep that in mind as well when you're playing the neutral, because you can, while you're up here in the air, and if let's say your opponent is also up in the air, you can potentially find a time to stop what you're doing and descend down to get your stamina back up if it's really low. You'll see me do this in my match videos as well, very often in fact, and it's very helpful, it's very useful, and it's also a way to keep, get some breathing room. Even though the person might still hit you in the process anyway, because descending is pretty slow. Keep that in mind. So you may not be able to do it depending on how close your opponent is to you. If your opponent is a fair distance away, that's when you should do it. If they can hit you with a square like that, like just by pressing square, chances are they're going to hit you, because the game's netcode allows for things that normally would not work in an offline environment work. So keep that in mind when you're playing the neutral game. What else is there in the neutral game I need to talk about? Oh yeah, jumping. So this isn't really something that's used very often, but you do have a jump attack in this game. You do. Each character has their own jump attack, and they can use it to start a combo. As you see, it went 5 hits instead of that being 4. So it's jump and triangle. Keep that in mind. You can do a short hop as well if you're close like that. You don't have to go all the way to the apex of the jump. But it's just an additional input to keep in mind. You can use that to get in. You don't have to you don't have to stay in place in the air. You can also move back and forth with the jump. So you do have that option, unlike a 2D fighter. Well, it is kind of like a 2D fighter in that way, I guess, because it goes by your jump arc. So it's your jump arc. You just got to make sure that you're got the right spacing down when you're doing that jump. So that's an additional option that I don't think many people are aware of. So go into training mode and experiment with your jump attack, and see if you can work it into your game. If not, that's fine. I don't really use jump attacks very much because the jumps are so slow in this game. And chances are you're going to get hit before the jump attack even comes out to hit them. It also does so little damage that it's kind of not worth going for unless you know you want to get that little bit of extra damage. And then I mean, the last thing to really go over as far as the neutral game goes is that there's grabbing. And that's another way to sort of, it's another like spacing tool kind of thing you can use. In fact, I didn't even talk about spacing yet. So spacing is, again, related to the neutral game in the sense that there is a certain distance between you and the player where you're safe and where they are also safe. And there's also a certain distance where they're not safe and you're also not safe. What does that mean? That means basically I'm this far away from Vegeta. That means I can go in and start attacking. If I'm this far away, I won't hit... Well, I will hit him. Okay, because that. If I'm this far away, I won't hit him. So you want to keep in mind the range between you and the opponent. So keep in mind how close the square button moves you when you try to start doing your combo. So if you're this far away, you won't hit him. But if you're about, say, this far away, you will hit him. So that's spacing, is how the distance between you and the player, and how much your attack, like if your attack can hit them. It's very important to also know the range of your super attacks. How far away you can be to hit them. So like something like Kamehameha, there's not going to be an issue in hitting them. But something like Kamehameha Boost, I believe I won't hit Vegeta from here. Yeah. So Kamehameha Boost is a mid-range attack. So you're going to want to be about that close to be able to hit Vegeta with that. So that's spacing. And spacing also applies to like your opponent. When they do an attack, you're going to want to be a certain distance away from them so they don't hit you. So that's where, stuff like backsteps come in. Backsteps come in very, 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 very crucially for that, for spacing. So if you know your opponent's going to start attacking you, like, head on with melee, you can backstep and keep yourself relatively safe from them, and they won't be able to hit you. As long as you're spaced correctly. So again, you have to be spaced correctly. If you're this far away from Vegeta, he's going to hit you even if you do the backstep. But if you're, like, say, this far away, you can do the backstep and he won't hit you, most likely. I can't really show that because the AI isn't going to cooperate with me very well, I don't think. But again, you get the idea. You can sort of visualize what I'm saying. And then, so spacing is really important, and obviously the side steps come into play with the spacing as well, because they have to think about 3D. Spacing in 3D is completely different from spacing in 2D. You have to not only account for the back step, but also the side step and ascending and descending. So use all of these things to, play around your opponent and get in on them. And by the end of it, you'll be finding yourself doing a lot better just with with the understanding of these fundamentals. This is the fundamentals of fighting games. These are the fundamentals of fighting games, excuse me. Every fighting game pretty much follows these things. Spacing, neutral game, zoning, what else do we talk about? Blocking, all this. What makes them different from each other is the space they're in. So like Street Fighter is in 2D, Dragon Ball Xenoverse is in like 3D, but it's like full free roam. Tekken is traditional 3D. Smash Brothers is 2D platforming. So like there's all these different types of fighting games, but they all follow these basic fundamentals. And as long as you understand what I have shown you in this video, you will be a much better player if you just go into training mode and experiment with all of what I've shown you, and you figure out how to work it into your gameplay. So I hope this video has helped to some extent, and I hope that it will make you a better player, and that you understand now when I'm talking about spacing and the neutral game and zoning and stuff like that in any of my future videos. So, thank you for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, just comment in the comment section below, and I will try to elaborate further. All right? Bye.